Okay, here we go.
Okay, cool. Hey, man, it's great to meet you, Jace. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Likewise, likewise. By the way, I should say something. Your
Yeah.
voice sounds amazing. When I was
Oh,
listening to a few things,
thank
it,
you.
it reminds me of some of that the old radio, like voices from back in the day that you'd wake up to in the morning, right?
Yeah.
On the drive somewhere, but it's like that exciting and it's an inspiring type of voice. Let me put it
Thank
like
you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. I've had good mentors. My One of my best friends of all time, his name is John Christopher, and he's old school radio, and he engineers my jazz show. So I've learned a lot from him. So yeah, it's fun. It's been a lifelong dream. But man, I love film too. So I'm so excited to dive into this world of film with you, and you're very accomplished. And we kind of touched on COVID, so I want to begin that with that thought. 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging. How did you survive the 2020 pandemic, and how has it reverberated into your work and life in 2025?
COVID was an interesting period of time, and I'll give you one example. For my wife and I, technically, we don't feel as though anything actually changed for us in terms of when we met. We've always been joined at the hip. So I know during COVID, there were people had issues. They were maybe with loved ones for too long of a period of time. But we would laugh at it because it wasn't anything out of the ordinary for us. So from that standpoint, it wasn't nothing really changed for us personally in our personal lives. However, I will say this, what I saw during COVID was a total transformation of the film industry.
Yeah.
And we had actually just finished a film called EFC that we released late last year. It was a women's mixed martial arts film. And we were going into the post-production process. And typically before COVID would happen, you'd have like the director, like me, very hands-on with the editors in the room, just going through, all the scenarios, the sound, even we had orchestras recording the music, and you'd be there, and then all of a sudden during COVID, it wasn't possible to be doing that, right? It literally switched up the way that we were doing things. And things like Zoom started to pop up, and we would have to virtually talk to people and maybe even virtually try to edit and discuss and do things. This didn't happen before that. Another perfect example, like our music composer, we had the music composed by the Prague Symphony Orchestra during COVID, and that was done remotely. Unheard of before. But before COVID happened, we were supposed to be there in person in Prague, right? This is how this was supposed to play out. And all of a sudden, it was just this massive adjustment to doing things a different way. In 2025, there's no going back now to how it was before COVID. It's completely revamped. Like almost everything is just virtual, not just from post-production, but even to like distribution. Like it used to be before, you'd be at these film festivals, meeting, going through all these meetings and agents, and not that it doesn't happen, but a lot of the work is just done online now. I'm not necessarily hopping on airplanes from Toronto to LA or New York or whatever. Essentially, just okay, what time is our Zoom conference or video conference? So I feel as though it's been a positive and it's made things way more efficient and has is probably saving productions a lot of money. Just with these formats and being able to streamline things online. There are some elements sometimes that maybe you miss. Like, yeah, it was just nice to see people in person, right? And shake hands and just get to know each other like that. But that's a trade-off on one sense. But on the other hand, I feel as though as a result of COVID for the industry, it is allowing, especially in the independent sector, filmmakers to thrive more and more efficiently,
Yeah.
so to speak.
So what you're doing is something a lot of kids dream about doing. That we all love film, and it's a dream that people have. What did you want to be when you were a kid? Was it always going to be film?
It was not always going to be film. I actually come from a finance background. I
Okay.
was in the investment banking world, and the industry was not even on my radar until I had decided I wanted to do something completely different. And I like to say now that the universe called me one day, essentially because I was getting off a plane, I think in Vancouver, and I got an unusual phone call from a filmmaker that was trying to raise money for a film slate. And I thought, why would I get a call like this from this particular person? But it just stuck in my mind for so long that I decided to investigate the industry and through networks and contacts. And I just wanted to understand it more and see, well, maybe there's opportunities here and or pathways that I had never considered. And back then, during my days of exploration, I would say that, and discovery, uh, I saw a potential future. I said, well, the future looks like it's in distribution. It looks like it's with online streaming. And this was slightly before we had crossed over to that. This was the era when Google Video just bought YouTube. And then, we were still watching cat videos, and there was still a lot of talk about watching stuff online. And ultimately I said in 2021, by the time we get there, so this was somewhere around 2009, 2010, I'm looking forward. I'm like, the future is streaming. There's going to be a lot of platforms. Netflix was obviously getting into the space. They made their intention clear. I knew there would be more. And in 2021, what the demand would be is content. They would probably not have enough to satisfy the appetite of the consumer. Little did I know we'd run into COVID, and just the demand had surged at that point, right? But ultimately, I decided that content would be king, that the IPs would be king, and my role in the whole ecosystem of it would probably be on that side of things, right?
Yeah.
And I took my steps slowly into producing and directing and building slates like what we're doing right now for the next foreseeable future, right?
So who was a filmmaker that you emulated or a film that you fell in love with that was kind of your creative fuel and your vision and the way that you perceive and create content?
I will tell you that there was a film that was absolutely, I would call it a defining moment for me personally. And it's an interesting story because I had a dear friend of mine's. It was actually her birthday, and I had called her and said, "Hey, I know you're studying for exams, but it is your birthday, so let me just take you out for your birthday." And she's like, "Yes, I absolutely want to do it," except that she flipped the switch on me and said, "Well, for my birthday, what I want to do is take you to see this specific film." And she went and took me to see Interstellar,
Yeah.
and I thought, "Oh, okay, this is interesting." And I saw the film. I knew it was coming out. I do follow Nolan's work and those things, but it just for whatever reason I wasn't thinking of it, so I got caught off guard. And I'm like, sure, of course. Obviously I was gonna see this anyways, right? But it just so happened to be that opening night, and I saw it the first time. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic, which I can get into all the reasons why it was fantastic a little bit later. But after I saw the film, she challenged me and said, "Hey, I see you at that level. That's why I wanted you to see this film."
Yeah.
So, to me, and the reason why I say it's a little bit of a defining moment is because from that moment, although I was preparing to direct films, I knew in that moment exactly where I was going to go and what I was going to do. And one of our next productions that we're developing right now is called Genesis, and it revolves around a world where there are no more original thought. And I like to tell people it's Nolan level because it's at that scale, that in Inception or Interstellar is actually at, right? And if I can go back to almost an inception moment and say it was right around that time, right? So that would have been a pivotal turning point for me,
Yeah.
I would say, in terms of although I was on the path, but it's that transition point where you go from like understanding what you're doing to knowing exactly what you're going to do. Potentially, there's a difference. I think there was a line in the Matrix where Morpheus says that there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path, right?
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I was clearly walking the path with total purpose and clarity in terms of exactly what I'm doing over the next little while, right?
Yeah. So let me ask you this. We all have this idea of what Hollywood and filmmaking is all about. There's this dream, there's this ideology, but then there's this reality. When you entered this world, what was the most surprising reality that contrasted the ideological notions of being in this world? What was the big stark difference?
For me, I didn't see uh, coming from my background too as a bit of an entrepreneur for a long period of time, I saw the film industry as that. When people ask me about it, I tell them, look, essentially every film, or if you want to look at a series, is a startup company. Essentially, it's what it is. You have a product, the product is a story. You have to determine who the market is, how you're going to get it to them, how much is it going to cost to create the product, what type of returns is the product going to have. It's the same formula in every sector. My biggest surprise was that a lot of people didn't look at it from that standpoint. Yes, it is a creative business, it's a creative industry. However, it is also a business. And I typically will tell people I am in the business of filmmaking, not just a filmmaker. Uh, But to your surprise, potentially, one of my biggest, I would call it double takes, is hmm, sometimes it seemed as though, for a vast majority, didn't understand that we're in the business of filmmaking, right? Not just creating stuff. You can do that if that's what you want, but there is a business there. It is a business structure, and it would be just like Tesla. You have your executives there. You have marketing teams. You have a product. You have all the elements that every film would have as well. It's just the product is different.
Who has been that hero for you in your life that's inspired you to create and to evolve into where you're at right now?
I'm gonna hero in my life that has done that. I don't know if I would particularly narrow it down to one person per se. I mean, I will always default and go back to the original woman, which is my mother. She's always aspired and tried her best to reach beyond her reach, break any ceilings that she could break, whether she did or didn't successfully or unsuccessfully. Even now, at I think 74, she still dreams and aspires and wants to reach and do things. And it's like she still dreams about, breaking ceilings. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? That's a lot of determination and grit and a strong mindset. And I think for me, that I keep that in and of myself in terms of mindsets and reaching, not stopping, keep taking the next steps forward. So I will say I get that from her, and she would be my inspiration in that regards to just keep going and
Yeah,
reaching and thriving and getting up when you fall and then get up again and
yeah.
then keep getting up, you
That's
know?
it. Yep, totally. So let me ask you this. If you could meet one filmmaker, one major figure in the world of film, and ask him some questions that might help you on your journey, who would that individual be?
If you're in my office right now, if you came in, on the wall, you would see some of the posters of the work we've done, and you'll see some of the posters behind me. And if you see in the video here, you'll see one of them, I think, is Inception. The other one that I'm blocking is Tenant, and there's a third one there, Interstellar. So I think that kind of gives it away.
Yeah,
But when I walk into my office, I see what we've done, and then those posters are there because I'm looking at what we're aspiring to, and then in front of me is what we're actually working on and what we're doing like right now. And 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 the projects that I feel can either surpass what's behind me or just or be at that same level. So to answer your question, without any further ado, it would absolutely be Christopher Nolan. I think he may be one of uh, the most brilliant filmmakers of our time. Um, and part of the reason why I'm saying this, and I'll just say one thing. I look at a lot of his work and I feel as though it's ageless. So, for example, Tenet is a movie that was, correction, Inception was a film that was re-released in its 10th anniversary year, but it doesn't have a time to it.
yeah,
Like it's ageless. Like we can watch it again in the 20th year and it's still the story, the elements, it still feels ageless.
yeah,
Like it's not dated or anything of that nature. Interstellar, I feel as though it's the same way. They had a 10th anniversary last December where they re-released it again.
yeah,
And again, ageless. The story is ageless. It seems like there's a suspension of time on that film. Tenet, I feel as though is a film that came out during COVID. I feel was quite ahead of its time, but it's another one that I feel as though may be more appreciated in 2030 in its 10th anniversary year release. And again, ageless, timeless. There's a consistent theme there.
yeah,
And that's not a small feat, whether it's by purpose or unintentionally. And, if you have three, I'm going to say not a coincidence, not unintentional. There's definitely some thought that goes into that. And even for myself nowadays, we do think about that. How will this age? 10 years, 20 years? Sometimes it's hard to say. But when you have three, I feel as though it's time for a conversation,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so I would definitely uh, have a conversation with him, and it would be more along of those lines, right?
Yeah.
Timeless pieces, stories that don't age, and they actually match the themes, if you want to look at it even deeper of the films, right? So that would be definitely priority one for me.
So, in your life as being an entrepreneur and as a creative, what are you the proudest of all of this that you've accomplished and evolved into at this point? What are you the proudest of?
I think I'm proudest of my persistency, determination, and just being able to apply the wisdom that I've gained just on this journey so far, more than anything. And I would say, and especially when I look at the last project we had with EFC, which was quite challenging for us, even from the moment that we announced it, we spoke more about, well, we talked to distributors when we announced this film and says we're going to do this women's mixed martial arts film. And the common response we had received was, well, we don't think that's going to sell or there's going to be interest in it. And I would reply and say, well, this hasn't been done in a genre yet. And what we would hear is, well, there's a reason why it hasn't been done in the genre yet. And then we would say, well, there's a time to kind of revolutionize how we think,
Mhm.
maybe set a new trend, set a new path. And So fast forward to now, we're in 2025, and I can look back and I feel as though we were on the right track. We were making the right argument. We were setting the right trend because there is a plethora of these films with women in these non-traditional roles, combat sports types of roles that are coming out right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like we made a little bit of a contribution to that,
Oh yeah.
however small that might be, and we were on the right side of history. So that's another thing I could look back and say I'm quite proud of. Regardless, I know the film was released to a lot of acclaim and we picked up a lot of awards and it had its success. But more than anything, I would say we kind of stood by that ground, believed that, hey, this is the time. There's no reason. There is an audience. There is a demand. Slowly, as we were progressing with that film, we saw a change in the mindset of society as well when it came to women in sports,
Yeah.
just period, right?
Yeah.
Women's mixed martial arts, women's basketball, that was changing. So interesting.
Yeah.
And then we saw it changing in film. And now when I see every time I see a new film coming out or being announced and it has these women in these untraditional roles or combat sports roles, it puts a smile on my face because I'm like, yeah, see, we were right.
Yeah.
And we were on the right track.
Yeah.
And however small our contribution might have been, I'm glad we made a contribution to that, right?
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you. There's so many people that you work with, family, friends, fans that watch your films, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I, you're correct. Everybody has a perception. I think my wife's perception would be more multifaceted. She's always telling me new things about myself, right? Um, as far as me, I perceive myself to be a calm hand behind the wheel, if you want to look at it like that, a collaborator. I love to collaborate with other people in all aspects of the filmmaking business, and just for people who are listening, for any one project, a lot of the work, the majority of the work is on the producing side, which is the business side. Which is setting up the structure, building the foundation, financing plans, the financing to production, to distribution, to marketing, to everything that happens after that. Um, so I enjoy building teams on that respects, building the creative teams are a lot of things I enjoy. So I would perceive myself as a really good collaborator. Um,
So let me ask you this. If anybody wants to watch EFC, dive into your world, reach out, any of the good business, where's the best place for people to go?
I'm really easy to find on social media. I'm at Jaze Bordeaux on all platforms. It doesn't matter. Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever, whichever platform they're on, you'll find me on. Uh, EFC for your audience is available. Well, I'll say this. If you're a fan of mixed martial arts, if you're just a drama movie fan, if you're a fan of like 80s action types of films, if you like The Wolf of Wall Street, EFC might be a good film for you. If you're
Yeah.
just looking for something different that you want to see, EFC would be great. But EFC you can follow across all social media platforms at EFC Movie. It is available on all digital platforms in North America. And so just check out your favorite platform or just follow the page if you want to know more about the film.
Cool. I will put links in the show notes. Jace, this has been very illuminating and wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story and best of luck with all the future endeavors. I can't wait to see you on the Oscar stage someday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank
Looking
you.
to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.